Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a video for you guys, and it is going to be, as you could tell by the thumbnail picture and the title, we're going to be talking all about piercings and rejection and migration. Something that totally sucks about piercings, but something that is very common and something that happens and something that must be discussed because so many people want to know about it, and I'm going to be talking about it. So I just want to give a word of warning to anybody. If anyone is watching this and you are squeamish with, pictures or, rejecting piercings, anything like that, there will be some pictures in here. I will always warn you when there's going to be a picture, and you can cover your eyes and you will know when the pictures are over when you hear me talking again. Also, a little disclaimer, the picture that is in the thumbnail those are not my piercings at all. Those are pictures that I have borrowed from people I know and just pictures offline. My belly button and all my piercings are fine, so the thumbnail pictures aren't me, in case any of you are wondering and wanted to see them. Can't show you because they're not mine. So, yes, like I said, we're going to be talking about rejection and migration. The differences between the two, and mostly this video is going to be focused on rejection, more focused on rejection than migration, because rejection is something that I get asked about tons and tons of times, so I figured that just making this video mostly about rejection would be helpful. I will touch and go on migration as well, but we're just going to go ahead and start with rejection. So pretty much what rejection is rejection is when the body pushes a foreign object out of the body involuntarily. So you don't have nothing to do with it, your body is doing it, and the foreign object being a piercing. Rejection is very common among surface piercings. Surface piercings are anything from, eyebrow piercing, belly button piercing, tragus, sometimes tragus piercings can reject, a nape, anything that is surface, dermals, so anything that is pierced on the surface can reject. Things a lot of people want to know, what piercings can't reject. Your helix isn't going to reject, your lobe piercing isn't going to reject, your tongue piercing isn't going to reject, your lip piercing isn't going to, just surface piercing. So rejection is mainly focused on surface piercing. So your nose piercing isn't going to reject out of your body. So you have nothing to worry about with that kind of stuff. Just surface piercings are really known for rejecting, and they can happen. Since I said rejection is when the body pushes the piercing out of the body, that means, unfortunately, no, you cannot stop rejection from happening, and there is nothing you can do to prevent it. It doesn't matter how well you take care of your piercing, it doesn't matter. If your body doesn't want it there, your body will push it out, whether you like it or not. So unfortunately, you can't stop it. I don't know why this happens. It's just something that happens. It's very common with piercings, and nothing can be done to stop it. Another thing I wanted to cover is you cannot tell if your body's going to reject before you get the piercing. There are no signs that your belly button will reject it. The only deciding factor about whether or not rejection will happen is your body. If your body finds it easier to heal without the piercing there, it will just push it out. But if it wants to keep it there, it will heal, with it there. But, sometimes your body just, they sense there's a foreign object there, and your body's like, we got to get rid of it. We don't know what this is. So your body pretty much just pushes it out. Like I said, before you get a piercing, and rejection is very common with belly button piercings. I see it a lot with belly button piercings. So someone comes to me and they're like, I'd want to get my belly button pierced next month. Will it reject? Is there any way I can tell from my belly button now? No, unfortunately, you cannot. The best thing that you can do is go get it pierced and hope for the best. That's really all you can do when it comes to rejection. There's no way to tell if it will or not, so yeah, you just kind of have to get it and hope for the best that it won't reject. Does rejection happen most common if I'm bigger or smaller? It doesn't matter what size you are, it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter, what gender you are. It's just something that happens. Belly button piercings reject because their body doesn't want it there. Sometimes the belly button will keep it there. So it really doesn't matter, based on lifestyle, height, weight, gender, race. It really doesn't matter. Like, your body's going to do it whether, you like it or not. So, it really doesn't matter doesn't matter about that kind of stuff. Another thing is, please make sure you go to a professional to get it done. If you pierce your belly button yourself, you could pierce it in the wrong spot, and that could also lead to rejection. Or if you go to a piercer who's not exactly, experienced enough or licensed yet, then you could also run the risk of rejection just because it might not have been pierced in the right spot. So just make sure you go to a licensed professional who has done that specific piercing multiple times and they know what they're doing. Most of the time, about 90% of the time, it's not the piercer's fault if your body rejects the piercing. Sometimes it is if they do pierce it in the wrong spot, but 90% of the time it is just your body pushing it out. It has nothing to do with the piercer. So if your piercing rejects, don't go marching into your piercer and start screaming at her or him. Just don't do that, because it's not their fault. It's a risk that you take when you get a piercing. All piercings have risks, and rejection is one of them. So just kind of come to accept that, and don't expect it to happen. Don't be like, oh, this might reject. Don't do that. Just see what your body does. Just see how your body heals with it. But definitely go to a professional, and don't blame your piercer if your piercing does reject. Well, some of you wanted to know, what are some signs of rejection? The signs of rejection are very, very obvious compared to healing. Redness is one thing that is in common with rejection and healing. So if your belly button piercing is healing, yes, you will have redness, or any surface piercing. I know I'm just keep saying belly button, belly button, belly button, but mostly with rejection, it is belly button. So if you hear me say belly button, don't just think I'm talking about belly button. All surface piercings is what I'm talking about. So just wanted to clear that up. So anyway, extreme redness. That's one thing you will notice with rejection. The whole area around the piercing will be red. For instance, your belly button, it will be red around the whole entire area. There will be some droopiness, like the ring will be kind of, drooping down kind of. The skin in between the two balls will be very, very, very thin. Another sign is you will start to see the metal from the barbell through the skin, which is also a good sign of rejection. You will also sometimes see a red line from the top ball to the bottom ball, just of redness. That's also a sign of rejection as well. And just really extreme progressing thinning of the skin. That's just one thing you really, really need to pay attention to. Thing I wanted to mention, because I am going to be inserting pictures in just a minute, and one thing I wanted to say is, if you notice your piercing is rejecting and you know for sure it is rejecting, take it out as soon as possible before the body pushes it all the way out. Do you know what I mean? So don't just leave it there and hope it'll get better, because once it starts to reject, there's nothing you can do to stop it from pushing the rest of the way out. So if you notice your piercing is rejecting, just take it out right there. I know it's sad, it's really sad. Some of the pictures that I'm going to be using in this video is from one of my subscribers. I don't know if I should say her name or not, just because she didn't give me permission to use her name. She just said I could use her pictures, but her belly button piercing ended up rejecting, which I'm going to be showing you in the video, and it's really, really sad. I know you're going to be crushed when you have to take it out, but it's best to just take it out so you don't have as much scarring. So I am going to be showing you what the piercing looks like when it's rejecting and what it looks like when you take it out, and it will just get better, and you will have less scarring that way. So make sure if you start to see it reject, take it out as soon as possible to minimize the scarring. There will be scarring no matter what, but just to make it, less harsh of scarring, you know what I mean? Just take it out as soon as you start to see some, signs of rejection. Okay, so for anyone who is squeamish and doesn't want to see any pictures, you can go ahead and, turn away now, and when you hear my voice again, that's when the pictures are done. So I'm going to be inserting pictures of rejecting piercings. I'm going to be showing you a whole bunch of pictures, so we're going to go ahead and get started now, and you will understand more of what I'm talking about. Okay, so as you saw in the pictures, and it's so sad. Like, I hate rejection. Like, when someone shows me a picture of their piercing and it is rejecting, it crushes me to tell them that their piercing is rejecting, because like, you spent the money to get the piercing and it looked so good, and then your body was just like, nope, see you later, bitch. Like, it's just so sad. Like, I don't understand why rejection has to happen. It's not fair, but you know, it does happen. So as you saw in the video and the pictures, the signs of rejection are very, very noticeable. I mean, there's nothing you could really mistake it to, because it is, you know, just something that you can just tell is rejecting. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily go along with infection or healing. You know, you can tell if it's rejecting or not. Another thing is, rejection doesn't always happen right away. Sometimes it will take a couple days to reject, sometimes weeks, months, or sometimes even years down the line your body will push it out. So there's no like certain deadline that your body has to reject the piercing. It can take, you know, days, months, years, decades. It can take, you know, however long, and if your body decides one day that it doesn't want it there, guess what? It's coming out whether you like it or not. The thing is, don't always assume that healing signs for your belly button piercing are rejection signs. Like, your belly button piercing, when you get it pierced, it will be red for a long time. That does not necessarily mean it is rejecting. Another thing you want to keep an eye out for is, once rejection starts, it moves along quite quickly. So once the signs start happening, you know, it's gonna move on quite quickly. So if yours stays red for 6 months, you know, and there's, you know, no other signs of rejection, then it's just healing. You know, belly button piercings stay red for quite a long time, so, you know, just always be aware of that. Don't always just be like, oh, it's red, it's rejecting. No, it's not, I promise. It could be, but, you know, if you're just having a little bit of redness, don't worry too much about it, because as you could see in the pictures, that rejection and healing are very, very different. Okay, so that is all I'm going to touch on rejection. If you have any more questions regarding rejection, you can go ahead and leave a comment below. Or if you are someone who has a surface piercing and you think yours might be rejecting and you want me to look at it, I am not a licensed piercer. I'm not a professional. I'm getting started in the basics of piercings. That's why I know information, but I will try to help you the best that I can. It's always best to get a second opinion from an actual piercer, but if you would just like me to look at it really quick, you can go ahead and send me a private message on my BreeAnn Barbie Facebook page, which is always linked below, and you can send me the picture through messaging and I can look at it through there, that just to kind of help you or reassure you if it makes you feel any better. So yeah, just, you know, let me know, and yeah, we can do that. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of talk about migration a little bit. Migration is very different from rejection. Both are kind of similar, but not too much. So rejection is when the body pushes the piercing out of the body, like it totally pushes it out. Migration is when the object moves closer to the surface of the skin, but not fully coming out. So, for example, my belly button piercing. When I got my belly button piercing, oh gosh, when was it? 3 years ago, I had my belly button pierced. This August will be 3 years. So when I got my belly button pierced 3 years ago, I had, you know, a good amount of skin in between the two balls, you know, like always. And now, 3 years later, my skin is a little bit thinner in between the two balls. No, it's not rejecting. My belly button piercing looks, my belly button piercing looks like that now. I'll kind of zoom you in. So this is what my belly button piercing looks like. When I got it pierced 3 years ago, I had a little bit more skin in between the two balls. And as you can see, the skin now, 3 years later, is a little bit thinner. It's not uncommon, that's just what migration looks like, and yeah, that's just what happens. Some signs of migration are pretty basic, you know, it's really not a big deal, just the location of the original piercing moving a little bit. So it's really just migrating through the body. Not necessarily coming all the way out. Sometimes, yes, that can happen, but it's not something that happens all the time. So, you know, it's just the location. Like, my belly button piercing was pierced a bit farther back. Now it's moved a little closer to the surface. I hope I'm making sense. I hope, you know, that helps a little bit. Again, migration can happen with all piercings, mainly surface piercings. Migration is very common. For example, my tragus piercing has migrated quite a bit, kind of making me a little bit worried, but it has migrated just a teensy weensy bit towards the outer part of it. Not a big deal, I'm keeping an eye on it. Sometimes it can fully be migrated out of the body, but usually just, you know, closer to the skin, like I said. Migration can't be stopped or prevented. The only way to kind of slow down migration is don't change your piercing out way too much. Try not to snag it on anything. I know that's hard to do because, you know, when you get a piercing, sometimes snagging is that's just something that's gonna happen. And yeah, don't wear heavy jewelry in your belly button piercing because migration is very common in you know, only wear in belly button piercing. So only wear really like, you know, heavy things if you're going to the beach for a couple hours and you want to wear a really cute belly ring. Go ahead and do that. That's totally fine. But don't wear heavy, dangly belly button rings all the time because that can kind of really thin out the skin there. Okay, everybody, so that was my video on piercings and all about rejection and migration. I hope this was helpful for you. I know a lot of people come to me and ask me, you know, about rejection and migration, and I try to help as much as possible. So I figured making a video about it would just, you know, kind of nip it in the bud. So, you know, all the information you could want to know, I just gave you. If you have any more questions, like I said, go ahead and leave a comment or contact me on my Facebook page for BreeAnn Barbie, which is linked down below, and I will be more than happy to help you. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful for you and your little piercing friend, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I hope I reassured some of you, and I hope some of you who thought your piercing was rejecting, hopefully it's not now after hearing more information about it. But I'm done blabbering for the day, so until then, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.